Hello, hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Fix It or Feel It. I am your host, Brian Clark, and if you are a first time listener, I am a life coach. I am a certified mental health bro, and with this podcast, I am hoping that through sharing my life and my experiences and some of the things that I have learned over the years that have helped me improve the quality of my life, it will improve the quality of your life, and together we can heal the world. If you are already looking like you like what you see, and you want some more tips on how to be a person better, not how to be a better person, that's a different thing, but how to be a person better, go ahead, give me a follow wherever you are hearing or seeing me. And don't be afraid to go ahead and give me a like, give me a comment, share the video. I am learning that that is insanely helpful. Anything that you do to engage with me is super helpful in achieving my dream of getting this podcast out to as many people as possible. And like I said, healing the world. So let's get right into the show. My apologies, everyone, if I'm a little bit low energy today. I spent the entirety of yesterday watching all of season 4 of The Bear, and I am emotionally drained. I felt like I just opened the faucet on my tear ducts, and there was just like one constant stream of liquid falling out of my eye the entirety of the season. Even during the parts where it wasn't that sad, I was just ready and raring to go. If anybody knows how to get in touch with Jamie Lee Curtis so I can send her the bill for my therapy, that would be insanely helpful. Ooh, that woman. Her performance really awakened something highly emotional in me. But anyway, other than the emotional onslaught of the bear, I've been doing okay. Just okay. And that's okay to just be okay. It's also okay to not be okay, but it's okay to just kind of be all right. I had a week where I was just about to say weirdly, but it's not that weird for me. I was very hypercritical of myself this week, and it was really bumming me out. It was making me sad. And I don't know if anybody else feels this way. I talked a little bit about this in a video that I made earlier in the week. But does anyone else feel like they have certain emotions that are just so much easier to access for them than others? Like, I do feel a wide range of emotions all the time, and I feel all of them pretty strongly. But I have never had trouble feeling sad. I was actually going through one of my old journals in the last few months, and I read a journal entry from a few years ago where I just talked about how I felt like sadness was written on my bones. Like it has been coded into my DNA. There is something about being sad that I almost find enjoyable if it wasn't so painful. So I won't say that I find it enjoyable, but I think I do see some kind of romance in it. Like I was a little bit kind of raised by TV. I got a TV in my room probably way too young, and I spent a lot of time watching movies that were probably too mature for me at the time. And movies have a way of really romanticizing and finding the artistry and beauty in being sad, and I connected with that at a very young age. So I'm just now realizing while I'm saying this that that might be a little bit of the reason why I find it so easy to stay in that sadness when I start to get really low. And the other reason why it's so easy for me to stay there is because, like I said, it takes no effort for me to feel sad. And sometimes finding joy or happiness or productivity or excitement takes effort. Sometimes there are things that I have to do for myself or for other people to get some of those dopamine hits where I can feel sad just laying in bed. So when I start feeling really, really low, it becomes incredibly easy for me to just stay in that cycle. Because the last thing anybody who's feeling really low wants to do is something that takes effort. It's almost like sadness is on tap in my house. It's coming out of every faucet, and I can get it whenever I want. And happiness is a little bit more like an ice cold Topo Chico with a hint of lime out of a bottle. Sometimes I got it in the house. Sometimes it's in the fridge and it's easy for me to grab. But there are other times where if I want that, I gotta go all the way to the store to get it. And when you are in that fog of depression, a short trip to the store can feel like a cross-country adventure. It can feel like attempting to run a marathon in bare feet. And again, it would be so much easier to just stay here and feel sadness because even though it is painful, it is comfortable and it is familiar. So the good news about me feeling that way this week is that I did not allow myself to fall into the cycle for days and weeks like I have in the past. I was very mindful this week that I was on the edge of one of those episodes, that I was teetering. If I wanted to, I could have fallen right into and wrapped myself up in that soft, warm, cozy blanket of sadness, and I did not allow myself to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and give myself my flowers for that one, which kind of leads perfectly into a little bit of what I wanted to talk about with me being hypercritical of myself. I remember the first time that I ever had a legit therapy session. I talked for maybe like 10 or 15 minutes, and I didn't end up sticking with this therapist for very long. But the first thing a real mental health professional ever really said to me after only hearing me talk for like 15 minutes was, "So to me, it sounds like you give yourself absolutely zero credit for any of the positive things that you do for yourself, and that you absolutely beat yourself to shit over the quote unquote negative things that you do." And I remember just going, yeah, that sounds about right. I think you nailed it. So, in thinking a lot about why I find it so hard to give myself credit, why I find it so hard to love myself unconditionally. My self love always feels very conditional. I love myself when I like the way my body looks. I love myself when I get validation from an internet video that I made. I love myself when somebody else is mirroring that love back to me. Somebody I care about is showing me that they love me. I find it really difficult to access that self love when I am doing those quote unquote negative things. And one of the reasons I think is because I grew up as an athlete, a young competitive athlete in a very emotionally difficult sport, a very lonely sport. Tennis is the only sport really where when you go to a tournament, you will see kids absolutely losing their minds. You do not see kids at soccer games throwing soccer balls around and throwing tantrums on the ground and crying and screaming, but at tennis matches, it is happening constantly because there is so much pressure. There is no hiding from your failure in tennis. You are the only one out there, and you are the only one responsible for whether you win or lose. You can play Little League Baseball and be the worst one on the team. You could make 5 errors, you could strike out 5 times, but your team still wins, and you're in Pizza Hut celebrating, going, we're the best, we're the best. But if you suck in your tennis match, you are going to lose, and there's nobody to blame but you. There's a lot of pressure in that. And I had a weird, specific added pressure of my dad being my coach and being a very well-known coach in my area. And whether he put the extra pressure on me or I put it on myself, I assumed, and not only assumed, I knew that I was supposed to win every single match that I played because I was my dad's son. And so growing up with my dad as a coach, I can't say he ever said that winning is the most important thing. And I don't think he would have said that with his words ever. But the way he talks about winning and the way that he glorifies his students that have won state championships or national championships, and the way that he keeps tallies of how many championships he has won personally and awards that he has won, the way he talks about those things, it is not difficult for a 10-year-old boy to make the leap that winning is all that matters. So the little boy inside of me is still saying your effort does not matter. It is the outcome that matters. And rationally, I know that not to be true. Rationally, I am trying to train my brain to give myself the props for the effort, to be proud of the effort. But I was just having a week where I was struggling with some things that weren't even that big a deal, but my brain was filing them under the category of loss. I lost. I failed. And that makes me not worthy of my own respect and my own love, which again, rationally, I know not to be true, but I am very much connected to my inner child, and my inner child believes that to be the most true thing in the entire world. That if you want the love and the respect and the admiration and the pride of your father, you must win. Your effort is not good enough if you are not the victor, if you do not succeed in what you set out to do. So yeah, man, that whole self-love thing has been, out of all of the projects that I have started in my so-called journey, self-love was harder than quitting drinking. It was harder than quitting doing drugs. It was harder than losing 100 pounds. It is a constant and never-ending battle against my old thought patterns. And it feels more than like a mindset shift. It feels more than a lifestyle change. It is a paradigm shift. I really need to break down what I learned to believe as a child, even though, again, rationally, I know those things not to be true. I remember listening to Armchair Expert, Dax Shepard's podcast one time, and his wife, Kristen Bell, was on. And the 3 people on the podcast, Dax, his co-host, and his wife, are all very, very close. So Kristen Bell was like, hey, why don't we go around in a circle and everybody say one thing they love about the other person? So they went and did that. And then she was like, okay, now let's go around and everybody say one thing they love about themselves. So as they were doing that, I remember perfectly, I was taking a shower while I was listening to this. And I was like, oh, I'll do this. And it was like 30 seconds of me just thinking in silence, trying to think of one thing that I could admit that I loved about myself until I went, shit, this is a problem. I can't think of one thing that I love about myself, not even to say out loud. There's nobody here, just for me to admit. Nobody's ever going to know. And I couldn't think of one thing. That's when I knew I really had to buckle down and make this a priority. So, what have I done? Clearly, I just admitted that I'm not there yet. I'm not sure if I ever will be there, but I can say that I have gotten better. I can now openly admit that there are things that I like about myself, things that I love about myself, even. For instance, I'll do it here just as an exercise. I love how good I am at my job working with kids. I really do think that I have a gift for relating to kids in a way that maybe not a lot of adults or coaches or teachers do have. So one of the things that I really did for myself in this self-love arena is that I redefined what self-love meant to me. I used to think that self-love meant like looking myself deeply in the eyes and saying, Brian, I love you. You are a special boy and you are worthy of happiness and joy and love. And all those things are true, but it's also really tough for me to access that. So I kind of realized one day that like we have all of these love languages in relationships. Why can't there be self-love languages? So I started to focus on some of the things that I could do to show myself that I love myself, because maybe words of affirmation weren't really my strength in that sense. I think I'm pretty good at that in relationships. But again, when it comes to myself, I don't talk to myself the same way that I talk to people that I love. In some of those journals that I read, I mean, like, I have said the absolute meanest and cruelest and most critical things that I've ever said to anybody to myself in my journals. And sometimes they are painful to read. And I would never talk to anybody that I love that way, which is pretty telling in terms of how my self-love is doing. A few years ago, I was real mean to myself. I didn't talk to myself the way that I would talk to a loved one. And if A is B and B is C, I did not love myself. So as far as those self-love languages go, I mean, acts of service is a great one. There are things that I do often. I will take myself to my favorite park and connect with nature. I will cook myself a really nice meal. I will take myself to the gym. All of these things are things that I can do for my body and for my mind, and they are showing myself that I love myself because I'm taking care of myself and I'm giving the things that I need to myself without having to expressly say, I love you, Brian. But now I'm looking at you on a screen, and I do love you, Brian. Gifts, if they are in your budget and you can afford it, gifts are a great one. Buying yourself a massage or a new pair of shoes or an outfit or a trip to the Bahamas. Whatever it is that you think will show yourself the appreciation you deserve, I think it's a great one. So redefining what self-love means to me has been highly effective. And the other thing that I've done is really focus on my mindset around love in general. Like I said, I grew up with TV and I grew up romanticizing love in a way. Boy Meets World is one of my favorite shows ever. My dog's name is Topanga, and I grew up desperate for that Corey and Topanga kind of love. Still kind of want it. And I truly believed for a really, really long time that I would not fully be content or fulfilled or happy unless I found that deep, unconditional fairy tale kind of love. And what I've learned is that that is true. I won't be complete or fulfilled until I have that love, but it's not for someone else. I need to have that type of love for myself, which leads into my quote for the week, which is a Charles Bukowski quote. And he said, if you have the ability to love, love yourself first. So that's going to do it for me, y'all. I hope everyone has a wonderful week. Please go ahead, like, subscribe, share the video with your friends, with your family. Throw something down in those comments for me, please. Tell me about some of the things that you do that help you love yourself, and maybe I can use them to help me love myself. And with all that said, I love you very much, and I'll see y'all later. Adios.